everyone present. We have a list of miscellaneous items. First of all, we set a public hearing for Wren Valley Rd ROW vacation.
So this is the bridge on that dead end.
Balmer.
Balmer, yeah.
Balmer Property.
Yeah, and so, you fixed the bridge and sold the bridge to them, and now they're, the road department is ready to vacate the road up to where it,
I think it's
there's multiple owners. Yep.
on
And
top
so,
of the hill, ain't it? I
I don't know.
think that's what it
I
was.
don't know the details. I have the legal description, but that doesn't tell you much. But we've got tentatively have the public hearing set for the 13th of November at 10:30, if that works for you.
Is this the actual road that exists there now?
Yeah, the road leading to the bridge.
So we vacate the whole thing?
Up
I think it's,
till there's multiple owners.
I think it's up on top of the,
Yeah.
top of the hill, and they're gonna plow down to the bottom by the bridge, turn around and come back, because it was hard to turn around on top. I think that's the way.
He would plow the bottom?
Just make it easier to turn around. They're gonna go down the bottom, because there was no easy
No,
turnaround at the
So
top.
right now,
It was.
before the bridge was fixed, they're probably gonna just turn around in the same spot, because they couldn't cross the bridge, which is going up.
Yeah,
This does not include the road that's been unused. Is there a road that extends beyond the
No.
property?
no,
I thought there was one.
no, not there. No. They were talking about
This is
putting
the
them in
one
a
where,
driveway through the property from the
this
north.
is the one where you fix the
Yeah, I
bridge.
know. I thought that there was a road that still continued down.
No, no, no.
I mean, not that's been used, but it's kind of the same as the one in Hollandale.
Not the,
Yeah.
all the landowners are, they have worked together with all them.
Yeah.
In order to figure out the point where they want us to put the turnaround, so that's where
if I remember, it's just to the top is where the properties and there's everything down the hill. And it was easier to go down the hill, turn around, come back up like they used to, instead of trying to make a turnaround and get stuck or, yeah.
someone like to take out.
Al, motion to set a public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a public hearing for Wren Valley Rd ROW vacation for November 13th at 10:30. This is a resolution.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Shirley?
Yes.
Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Aye.
I need several signatures here on all these things, so I'll come over there when we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Midwest Group Benefits Flex Agreements.
So Midwest Group Benefits provides our management, administration of the flex accounts for the employees that choose to accept that. So we have a fee that to pay them to administer that. So this is just the same fee, it's the same administration we've done for years, but it comes due at the end of the year, so we're getting it renewed.
Do you know how many?
How many people use Flex? I don't know off the top of
It's not a huge number. What do we pay them in administrative?
It is $25 per month if there's 5 or fewer, and $50 per month if there's 6 to 10, and $4 per participant per month if there's 10 or more than 10. So it's pretty minimal.
Yes. Yeah.
Someone want to take?
I move to approve the MGB Flex Agreement. Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Midwest Group Benefits Flex Agreement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
That's okay. And I thought two thinking would be long.
Next up,
Good morning.
the 911 tower funding update.
Okay, so for this one, if you recall, the 911 commissions, had an agreement with, Raycom. And it was going to be, so it was 500,000 the first year and then 900,000 the next 3 years put in the system. Well, they decided to get rid of the microwave converter or transmitters to the one up by Satry.
Yep.
And use fiber instead. But the microwave is what was in the contract. And so they said, well, we'll take care of getting the fiber there. So they're taking about 300,000 off of the total for the, what you're going to have to pay Raycom. But it's gonna cost about 250,000,
Yeah,
maybe a little more to bury the fiber up
about
there.
a wash is what it.
Yeah,
is gonna
so
be.
by the end, it's gonna be about a wash. The only difference is that you're still on the same payment schedule with Raycom, and now we have to come up with like 250,000 now rather than on the 4th year. And so you had already pledged ARPA money to go towards this project, so I use that, but there's not even enough of that. So right now, we're actually, there's a bill of this claim for the first stage of that, about 175,000. There was about 125,000 in the ARP money unpledged at this point. So we're right now negative 50,000 in ARPA money. Now I'm assuming or hoping that the Festina project or some of those other projects come in under budget, because that's where you were gonna put the money.
Yeah.
But I've already got it spent ahead of time. So if it comes to a point where you spend all the rest of your ARPA money the way it's pledged, you're gonna have to come up with that money out of the general fund or something. I just wanted you to know that that's what we're doing. Now, the good news is on the 4th year, so the third 900,000 payment is only gonna be like 600,000, so you'll be caught up again then. But for now, we're cash flowing it ahead of time. Sean did say that he was gonna ask Raycom if they accept like 600,000 next July when the next payment comes due, so that we don't have to cash flow it for the one more year. Since, you know, they took that off, why do we take it off at the last payment? Maybe we should take it off the next payment. So we'll see if that materializes, but we are cash flowing it right now. That was the update I wanted to give on that.
I'm pretty optimistic that the Stein.
Yeah, but this time, and actually, there's some the other ones that they're smaller amounts, but like the wireless at the Lake Meyer campground is probably gonna be 10,000 less than what they planned, because one of the local telecoms already buried fiber optics there, so all they're doing is the internal wiring to get some antennas up there, so that'll save a little bit. You know, if each of the projects save a little bit, we can probably make up quite a bit of that money sooner rather than later. But and we only have till 2024 to spend the money, so by a year from now, we're going to have to be done anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Fourth.
Next, courthouse lighting for Veterans Day.
So this is the same as last year, so you have a policy put in place by the previous board of supervisors about what special dates that you'll change the lighting at the top of the courthouse for. And it includes, like, you know, Memorial Day and Independence Day and homecoming at Luther and Decorah, and, you know, a couple different things at Southwind and those homecoming, so on. Veterans Day itself is authorized in there, but last year, and they're asking again this year, the National VA Commission is asking for the whole week leading up to Veterans Day to be lit green for an acknowledgement through the National Association of County Veterans Services. So we're basically making an exception to policy to have the lighting match with the national request that the.
I move to approve it.
Second.
We have a
Either one.
motion and second to approve the courthouse lighting for the week of Veterans Day. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimous.
And Shirley brought up a good question about this when I sent out the agenda and she saw it on there. She wanted, then I reminded her it was the same as last year. And I would think that if this is gonna be a continuous thing every year, maybe we just amend that resolution and add it in there so we don't have to
Yeah.
do it every year, but I don't know what their plan is, if that's an ongoing thing or if it's not. But maybe next year, if they ask again, we consider that as the alternative and then you don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
Maybe we could take a look at all the days that are on there.
Yep.
And see if there's anything else that you feel as though there should be a need to add when we're changing it. You know, if there's a day you want to take off or one that you want to add,
Yeah.
be something that we could look at.
I'll forward that, or you want to forward it from what I sent you, so they get it, yeah. And you have it like before the meeting's over.
Yeah, can I hitchhike on this veterans issue? When we removed the old Veterans Memorial out here at the courthouse, that was put into over storage. And I thought we were all under the impression it was it's not at the county yard.
It's a rock quarry, isn't it?
It's at a rock quarry up off of North Hesper Road.
I thought they were gonna put it at the fire training facility, actually, was where they had talked about it at one point.
Apparently not. I don't know how it got up to the rock quarry. I haven't been able to really ferret that out.
Why they hauled it way up
Or
there.
why they put it up in there.
Who did work?
Don't even know that for sure.
Our road crew guys hauled it away. The contractor, I don't remember, was it Skyline or whoever did the steps was the ones that lifted them and put them on the county truck.
It
But
was Wicks.
for Wicks, there you go.
Yeah. So it's sitting up there and I really don't, there's some interest in possibly putting it, creating it elsewhere. So it's still being used as a memorial for veterans. But my concern is that it's in a rock quarry up there. It ends up on our roads in pieces.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's in the best interest of the public. So
No.
I did have Jim Boating was concerned about it and he said he offered to store it in until we decide what to do with it free, just to, for his own concern for keeping it intact. But it literally sits in a pile inside the rock quarry and it sure looks vulnerable to me. But
Who would, move that?
I would
Go
suggest,
back to the contractor?
no, I'd say we just ask our road crews to move it. But I'm really uncomfortable with it being up there in Bruning's rock quarry.
I would agree.
I think you should probably have Andy draw up a simple agreement that with Jim, that's where you decide to put it, so that
He could also
when
say,
we're all someplace else, that it doesn't become the property of whoever else.
we could also sit at the Freeport.
Freeport out there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
there's plenty of room out there.
Oh, there's plenty of room out there. It's,
Yeah.
main thing is we don't,
Just get it out of the rock.
just get it out of the rock quarry.
I'd put out of Wellington.
And maybe we can mention it to Jim, see if we can get it moved and not damaged. There is some interest or possibly down at Calmer with their veterans display down there, so that pieces of it wouldn't necessarily be used to say Winneshiek County Veterans Memorial, but at least you could say Veterans Memorial, because the centerpiece of it is really kind of the nice piece of it. It says, blood, sweat, and tears on 3 pieces of stone in the center. And that, it would be certainly meaningful in one of our other places in the county.
Either the fire, if they're talking about their, put it someplace.
Yeah.
Get it set up, the part that's set up, so
Yes.
it's rather than.
They can see it or whatever.
Yeah, it really isn't, it's just, we'd lose a nice
Who do we
memorial.
talk? Who's gonna be in charge of that?
Well, I'll help get it moved. I went out there looking for it because I couldn't figure out why we couldn't find it over there on our.
Yeah, I don't know why it got there.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that it was going on.
Out to.
We all
out
were.
there.
We all were.
Yeah.
We talked about putting it out right
Yeah.
here because people.
And I thought that's where it was going.
All right, we'll get that.
Building a new memorial over the one.
Yeah, they didn't want it
Yeah.
as a part of the memorial downtown.
Yeah.
No,
And it wouldn't,
It
it
wouldn't.
wouldn't, so it doesn't look the same. But it's still worthy.
sure.
Next up, discuss historical society lease for storage in the old jail.
Well,
We got anything new on that?
yeah, I think where it seems to be going at this point, until we go further with, the whole vacation of the lease up here, eventually on that aspect of it, I think maybe this is the time, if we're making, it ties together with the judicial system. Things that we just had a meeting, Shirley and I were in attendance with the district court judge Lahar in a meeting last week.
I was going to.
Oh, yeah, Mark was there too. And so we have, the sheriff's office needs additional evidence storage space because of the long-term storage of so many different things. And so the old woman's jail cell would be a secure location for archiving things that has to be kept. And that's where the juvenile judicial court records are currently. But they agreed that they could transfer them over into two of the existing cells inside of the jail complex, which are totally secure and lockable.
Mhm.
And there's not a problem with keeping old records there. And so that seems to be, and I kindly volunteered that the sheriff's deputies, because they're blinded, would be happy to move those records.
That talked of putting up metal shelving so they're not just stacks and.
Sure. Then they could access them, but it looks like that's all favorable. And so,
You would need to amend this lease with the historical society because that's currently part of the
yeah,
state.
well, that could be accomplished, and then we can talk further about eliminating, the options of whether or not we should renew that lease when it comes to next June.
I think you had to give,
3 months notice.
3 months notice.
Would we still keep part of their, if they want space? Is there space for them? to
We
use
could,
this thing?
well, they have a lot of materials up there.
Yeah.
Whether or not some of those are really worthy of us, because we're paying all of the upkeep cost of.
And utilities.
Utilities and everything else to do that. And we're providing it for a nonprofit organization that's the Historic Society of 501c3. And we have our own Winneshiek County Historical Commission, but those are two separate entities. We've got to negotiate moving the Historical Commission, their storage down to the Smith Building. And John made mention to Chris, but has not heard anything back because there's office space. One office is all that's necessary for them, and what they're using over here is not really is very seldom used by Historic Society, and they basically store their pamphlet booklets that they have for sale if they go to the different places around town, around the county. So all of that can be easily accomplished, but we just don't have an answer back on their space. But I think we're moving forward. The courts, I think it was the juvenile court. I don't know if it was the judge or the clerk for the juvenile court
Mhm.
was going to meet with me today, which I haven't heard from yet,
Clerk.
to go up there and view where we could move things to and get that to happen. So all of that is kind of
One themselves is empty.
yeah, one cell is
Is
empty.
empty, or they aren't using, they don't lease that one cell, because that's, the county they had agreement with the county that county can show it to
In
somebody.
case one of us just needed a place to hang out.
Just for viewing one empty cell to show the way things were, what, I don't know.
So it's,
That's the way.
but it's a pretty innocuous move, and I don't see any significant cost involved with it, so.
Yeah, because otherwise, sheriff's department's talking about having to put a new building up for storage, but we got one here, we might use this here, I mean.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars is not a good option back from here.
No,
It's kind of a no-brainer.
yeah. Because you got a secure building then with an old jail, so. Better places.
You want to add on about the meeting with, or Mark, about the meeting with the district judge?
Maybe we can do
Let's do that in committee
under
report.
committee report.
Yeah. So who's gonna work with the historical society portion of that.
Well, I have an F, Steve Johnson has
Okay.
been also.
Next, discuss Freeport Property IRP request. Have we heard anything back on that?
Yeah, I've seen.
Not, we'll have to ask Andy when he comes in, I guess, and.
Okay,
I would, somebody brought up, and I've been thinking too, is what's the possibility of leasing that?
they have to have ownership.
They do have to have.
Yeah.
For the grant.
For the
monies.
grant,
There's
yeah.
gotta be grant monies.
That was the first thing I brought to them before they
Yeah.
met with you, and they were double check that before they came to your first meeting. So I'll just keep that on the agenda until we hear back.
Back, yeah, we'll ask him today and just keep.
Yeah.
Throwing it out there till.
All right,
Or we can just say no. We don't have to keep throwing it out there.
Well, we can find out what we gotta do, I mean.
next up, discuss act on county engineer hiring. So I was able to have a conversation with applicant 3 early Friday morning. And to clarify what he was getting at, he said, yeah, after I left, I kind of understood that I probably didn't say that quite right. He meant he would, if given the job, would try to move mid-semester, in the middle of the school year, after the first semester. And leading up to that, he would commute back and forth to his home where he lives now on the weekends. So that's where he was at there. He didn't have any other questions for me. He said he had done a lot more research, going back, reading all the minutes of the meetings and reviewing stuff, so familiarizing himself with the county.
So he would be able to start.
Basically,
Relatively.
Move here by the first.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
and they'd be able to start like with a 2-week notice or
Notice.
something.
yeah.
That's improvement.
So are you gonna take an action to,
I would say,
or maybe you need to start, if you first take an action, not necessarily to exactly hire him, but to proceed with the hiring of him, and then have Andy, because you're gonna have to talk about terms of a contract.
correct, yeah,
Well, I move that we proceed with hiring him.
I'd second that. We need a motion, I would definitely.
That was an emotion.
That was a motion.
We have a motion and a second to proceed with the hiring of candidate or applicant 3.
Is everybody kind of in agreement on that? I mean, for the most part, or is there hesitation?
I feel, as I've gone back and tried to review, I think I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
It was interesting, the reports that came back from his previous employer about the relationships that they had with him for the past, how many years? I think you talked with him. Did you talk with him?
I talked with some people that have worked with him for the last 7 or 8 years.
Would we,
I would like to call references.
Well, that's still part of the process.
Yeah,
That's part of proceeding. That's automatic. We don't do that before making.
No, I'm just saying, I would like to do some of those.
Well, that's fine.
that's great.
Okay.
What kind of terms? I mean, did you talk dollars and
Have
weeks of vacation or any of those other details?
it's all coming.
Okay. Because you'll have to tell Andy that to be able to write up a contract.
I think what we discussed is that we tell Andy, we'd put him in our current matrix system based on years service
Which
with the
Ben
PE.
sent out what that is, so.
The 6
Well-
years, as if he had the 6 years of service.
6 years as PE.
what was that? You remember what that one was?
121, 284 and 49 cents.
Okay.
How much?
121, 284 and 49 cents is the 6 years of service.
Because I think he had 120 on his
And that was what-
application, what he was,
Yeah,
so
looking
we're,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Seems to
Phoenix, right,
It lines up.
Stars laying right up with what he was asking and.
And
4
then
weeks vacation.
6 weeks of service would normally give 3 weeks of vacation, but I mean, that's something that you could negotiate if that's what it takes to.
Yeah,
I think we start at 3,
I would start at 3.
just to be fair to all the other employees in the county. I think we should start there.
we have to, we gotta.
It's negotiable.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second to proceed with the hiring of applicant 3. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
So if you call it references, you probably want to do that the next couple days, then do you want to? Then is someone gonna call them and talk about the terms so that you could actually have a contract ready to sign by next week?
Well, and
Or,
right there is where we have to talk with Andy when he comes in about the contract. Are we gonna, is it gonna mirror the one that we had? Do you think there's any changes that need to be done to the contract?
I think
Engineer's contract, yeah.
but I think that, part of that contract should be that if there's any need for termination or not renewing the contract for any reason, that should be unanimous, 5-0 of the board.
That's really hard. You can't, yeah, you can't change the
You can't
rules,
do
it's
that.
gotta be majority.
Other people have written that into their contract.
so when it comes, the contract length is normally 1, 2, or 3 years. So when it comes up for renewal, you have to have a unanimous decision to keep them. And you would have to have a unanimous decision to terminate it early. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, he's got to come back to us with his negotiating points too in his contract. That's part of this.
I just want to make sure it was both ways you were talking about, not just the.
Can be discussed. I mean, it's a negotiating period right now. So we're not coming up with,
That's,
terms.
you're changing, I don't like.
I don't know who that affects more, him or you, so I don't know
Yeah.
who would negotiate which way.
I don't like to change board policy, if you got the majority here, yeah.
I think the majority.
I would say majority is,
That's the basis of all our rulings. If we're changing that, we're changing an HR policy as a policy besides
yeah,
for any hire.
One minor change from the lead contract is that clause that talks about the salary would be, needed to be updated, because it referenced the old salary study.
Yes.
So it'd be that, you would say something like the salary study completed in 2022 with 6 years of experience stuff or something like that to cover that.
The contract length,
That was
3
that was-
years.
Yeah, that was, plus 6.
Also,
I think
yeah,
that,
do it 3 years.
I think that's only fair if someone's willing to
Move.
Move them, yeah.
that they are granted a 3-year contract.
years.
we're taking a chance here. I don't want to lock ourselves into 3 years unless we have to in the negotiating process.
We're taking a bigger chance with not being able to move forward. So I'm not
I'm
concerned.
not saying we need to move forward. I'm just saying, should we be more cautious?
And there's a termination clause that takes a 90-day notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not locked into
No,
it.
we're not locked in.
We have a contract. We're not locked into it.
And it's 90 days both ways. I mean, if he wanted. And you're required to give him 90 days, you know. It guarantees them that his move is hopefully worth it if you're offering a 3-year versus a 1-year.
Yeah, I would say stay with the 3.
I wouldn't move with a 1
No,
if I was in his.
I think it would not be fair to him if he,
no.
it takes 2 years to learn.
Yeah, in all reality.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing I was gonna talk about. Well, if we decide to proceed with this, do we decide we're gonna formally hire or pay somebody to mentor him for a while, or do we just allow him to take liberty with the surrounding engineers?
We could ask him if he,
Because we don't have an assist, that's the,
I
anyway,
mean, you could ask him if, 60 days or 90 days if he wanted us to keep the interim to help him.
Yeah, you could offer that.
We could offer something like that,
I mean,
90
I
days.
just,
Well, something.
I would,
it's different if he was coming in and we had an assistant that was here that could,
yeah,
or somebody underneath them that was coming up.
Although it works like when I took office, I mean, I just worked with the other auditors. I didn't have any. I mean, they didn't charge us anything for that. I had
yeah.
auditors come and sit with me for hours at a time sometimes when I was entering certain things.
Or we could say, hey, 30 days, just have,
I think
the mix,
Nick for.
if you,
Minimum of 30 days.
Well,
I would-
I would, 30 or 60 days, just,
Discretion.
yeah.
I mean.
Well, years ago, I think Nick was mentored when he first came on. And so I think it's a good question to ask Nick.
Yeah,
The other thing, I mean, is that this person would be coming in at a really, really crucial time as far as getting contracts let and everything and all the
so
paperwork.
it'd be nice to have him.
Somebody openly watching.
You would think like you could offer him, keep Nick as long as you want, up to
Certain.
Yeah,
90 days,
90
whatever.
days, yeah.
And he
And
can
if you-
decide that.
If you go 30 and he feels comfortable, well,
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
what I would say, give him a
I just want to make sure.
90-day window, we could, if he was comfortable having,
Well, Nick's a good source. He's been there, done that, so.
I think
Yeah.
we all agree,
yeah,
up to 90.
up to 90 days.
90, okay.
I hate to use the drinking from a fire hose analogy, but it will be.
Candidate number 3 certified as the DOT requires.
Yes.
Yep,
So he's got experience. I haven't heard anything about him.
Yeah. Yeah, he has his PE, which is required in order for us to.
And he's Iowa.
Iowa,
Yes.
so Iowa PE, so he's certified in that.
Okay, so he can start and administer new projects.
Yes.
That seems to me the issue that was the biggest elephant in the room.
Yep.
And everybody is satisfied that he has the management experience to run this county's engineering department.
He doesn't have the management experience now, but we feel confident that he can learn on the job with mentoring from the surrounding 6 county engineers. They're all willing to pitch in and help.
He's been managing,
He's been
he's been
managing.
managing budgets significantly larger than the budgets we have.
Well, he has too.
in County with his.
He sat here and told
his
us,
current employment.
not that it wasn't 40, but it was 6 or
Far
7.
greater than what we're doing here.
I mean, that's what he told us, surely. I mean,
I think we all agree he has potential to learn a lot on the job. And that's a good thing.
That is very
Yeah.
encouraging to hear. Thank you.
But I would think you'd want to talk with Andy about the timeline, but maybe if you get the references called, say by the end of the day tomorrow, that you have all the details worked out, maybe with a phone call, you could let him give us 2-week notice before next Monday if he's willing to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, sooner the better, because
Yeah.
you're already kind of close to getting
Yeah.
the projects
Right.
let for next year. So.
that's where we could have, Nick could maybe help him get them. I mean, get them going right
I
away.
think the projects are pretty much all shown.
Show, ready, ready,
It's
just
just the point that
gotta have somebody to sign it.
need a signature
Yeah,
so we can help.
And the length of a contract, one thing I would recommend is maybe you consider the 2 years and 8 months or whatever, so it comes due. It's always has traditionally, you had it come due at the end of a fiscal year.
physical year.
Fiscal year, like have it go through June of 26, which would be 2 years and whatever, 7-8 months.
That's a good point.
So it would match up with,
Yeah, then it match up with your fiscal year, match up with when contracts usually tend to come due for the county.
It's a very good idea, man. Okay, we will proceed with that and we'll ask Andy some questions when he gets.
Let's take more comments from the board.
Oh,
One other question, the headhunter contract, is that all undone and,
We
not
never-
going to?
we never signed any contracts.
So all of that is off the table at this time?
Yes.
That's a benefit for proceeding with this, is that it doesn't delay and we don't have to spend more money looking.
I appreciate it. Thank
And
you.
I'll notify the one that had responded that you were pursuing a candidate.
Mhm.
I mean, until it's signed, it's not gonna be done deal, but yeah.
Exactly.
There are 3 references listed. Do we want to divide those up right now? Who takes which one?
I've already spoke to the one.
I can
Why don't
cover
you do,
the
why
2.
don't you do one to Enid,
Surely do the other
before they
one.
do the other one.
That way you get your, talk to one, I'll talk to the other one.
That's the one I've had contact with.
I'll call this one
Okay,
and we'll do the first 2.
okay.
Or the second one, they'll do.
Do that.
And once we have all the terms and everything's basically finalized, then we'll release the name to the public, so you aren't wondering who applicant number 3 is indefinitely, so.
Next up, discuss assistant engineer hiring options.
This one might be a moot point. I think this one was brought up. If you didn't hire one of these people, how you might get someone in place, and blah, 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 in the meantime. But I think it might be moot at this point because you'll leave this up to the person.
Yeah. They're kind of,
What if we went ahead and started advertising now so that we were ready for that new engineer to interview people once he gets here, just to move this process farther?
well, I would give them just a week or 2 to kind of settle in. You don't want to throw it right in his look, because you're gonna have applicants. I mean, give them, you know,
Maybe you want to ask him that when you ask him about the exact start date and keeping Nick on for some months or whatever. Ask him if he wants you to start advertising before he actually starts or not.
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
leave it up to him, because he,
Table that item.
Because sometimes when we've, or in the past, the assistant engineer hasn't been a PE.
Time has been hired, the assistant to the engineer is what they start as, is not PE. And then, because part of gaining their PE is working as an apprentice, basically, for a certain number of years, so those people work under the engineer, get their required time in, and eventually get a PE.
Is it about a 40 or 60% differential?
There was kind of, I've sent those pay scales to you.
70-something to 90-something.
I think, be a PE or not a PE, I think we just put applications out and see who applies. Because if we get an applicant for assistant engineer that just happens to already have their PE, why wouldn't we look at them?
Yeah, it just comes to the ability to where we have to, what dollar amount we can offer for that position. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you spend a little more and you get a little more, it pays for itself
So in the long run,
in the long run,
Yep.
yes.
And you had budgeted for 2 engineers, because
Yeah.
Isaac was
Was
a
a
PE.
Yes.
He was had just gotten it not that long ago, so he wasn't many steps into it, but.
And if you do have an assistant engineer that has a PE, you have someone with more experience in the field too. So it's, you have your engineer and your assistant, and they can bounce off each other with experience, and it might be a real benefit.
but win-win all the way around.
And I think as a manager of a department that, you know, when I want to hire someone, I want them to get them to be, cover the areas where I don't know as well. So, you know, if he's
Yeah.
looking for an assistant that has some certain experience that he doesn't, that might be different than.
Yeah.
like grant writing.
That way, when my staff knows all, that each has their own specialty and it covers all of my duties, then I don't really have to know anything, right?
Are you telling us something?
What are you saying? What are you suggesting? Ben? What are you suggesting?
Shoot.
Okay. Committee reports.
Official meeting. Sure,
Okay,
go ahead.
Security Committee is going to meet tomorrow.
Yes.
What they will be discussing at the security meeting is through that judicial court meeting we had last, was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It became very clear from the judges in the room and the clerks in the room that our security needs to be better at the courthouse during court days. That in other counties, they have officers on hand during the court hours. So the security committee will be meeting and discussing what we can do and what we can afford to do as a county to make sure they are safe. They're going through hours, sometimes in child custody battles, and that gets pretty heated and pretty emotional. So they would feel better having more security coverage at those court days. So it's 2 days a week, not 2 full days usually, but 2 days a week.
And it came up, our judges have been threatened.
They have
That are in
been
our
threatened.
court this year,
Including
numerous, several times.
right here in
Yeah.
Winneshiek County.
And that, I think you could read the news, that judge that was just murdered.
Yes.
And we had talked about options, if there's a desk available, just having an officer at least in the building who could come out at certain times, but could work from here on court days. So it wouldn't be like additionally hiring necessarily, but having somebody stationed out of here on those days. So I think it's a workable situation.
We'll
I think we
talk
owe
about
it.
bonds.
We owe it to the officials to,
Yeah, we've had.
it was just, well, it's just as much as don't put reserve for the judge, because then somebody can see, well, I know what car the judge drives.
Yeah, our sign used to say reserved
Yeah.
for judge out there, and after the second keying or whatever, the judge said, we gotta change that sign.
Or tires that became
Yeah.
flat.
So it's.
Yeah, it's based on real threats.
Yeah, hopefully something can come of that at the meeting.
It was referenced quite a bit at Clayton County, because their sheriff's department is actually in the building where the court is, so they're always present there and they feel much more secure there, and we don't have that, but maybe we can provide the partial coverage.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not suggesting that we have to have metal detectors and a deputy there monitoring the metal detector. If they get a high profile trial that where it appears where there's gonna be something, they can wand an individual. The sheriff has that capability right now, but it's something that is real world, and it's time to act. It is apt to add to our budget about $20,000. But,
That's cheap compared
That's
to a death
by comparison
or an
to
assault.
a major incident, that's nothing, but
Yeah, that,
and that would be,
on top of it.
yeah, and that's using, taking advantage of reserve deputy staff that are capable, but not pulling out of our existing crew off the field to where we have less coverage for the rest of the county using reserve deputies. So, I mean, it seemed like a very workable thing.
So we got security meeting tomorrow, 11:30?
Safety committee's meeting today at 1.
11:30 tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that's what I have.
That's
I think that's in the jury room. I'll have to go back and read the.
No,
Yeah.
the jury room. This room, after
We do it
today,
sound
this room is
system.
gonna be off limits the rest of the week to do sound system. And Hacker Nelson is set up in the room between the treasurer's office and my office doing the annual audit, so we have limited meeting space this week, but
And then I also have a Winneshiek County Development and Tourism meeting on Thursday.
It's at noon.
Yeah,
And Upper Explorer Land is at 1 on Thursday, and Northeast Iowa Community Action is today at 5:45 online.
I had a judicial meeting and basically going over the terms of the anticipated terms of the consolidation to the state, the different districts now. It'll take years, not months, for it to all happen, so everything is in flux. One of the comments was it's hard now, rather than checking out a car from locally, they have to go through the state pool. And things like that, that it's not just as handy, I guess. So they have no idea how the funding is all gonna change. But we can anticipate probably what that's gonna be. And then tomorrow is or Wednesday, I have a county social services meeting in Charles City.
I sent, Mark Vick and Steve Kelsey, I sent you guys an email, from the, I don't remember which meeting it came up in, the winter weather plan. Did you get that? No?
I didn't see it.
Okay. I'll go back and check and resend it, but the question was if we could have like a bucket of salt at each exit door of all the buildings.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a bucket with a scoop.
And then everybody participates, like any of us that see ice out there, we can just get it out there for safety reasons, especially at the, the Smith building, the old hospital. Sometimes it becomes an
I
issue.
think, John Halverson responded to your email and said that they're working on getting that in place. So, and I think that, because they leave by, 2 or whatever.
And sometimes it's
Nancy
snow.
leaves by noon.
Well, I don't know if you want it outside or inside, because it's wet and rainy, you don't want it sitting outside.
I think it'd be just inside.
Right inside the door,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then to make, get a word out to all employees that it takes all of us to make these things happen. It's not, nobody should say it's not part of my job. All of us can sprinkle salt if we see an issue. It just needs to be available.
Sandy?
He's online.
I'm online, Dan.
Good morning, Andy. You heard anything about, the land in Freeport?
No, I sent a message to the general counsel for DNR with the contract information that I had. I think there's 2 of them that impact that. I have not received a response other than a reply saying that the message was in fact read, but they haven't gotten back to me.
Okay.
When I do get that, I'll forward it on to you so you know where we stand with them.
Okay, that sounds good. We decided to go ahead with the hiring process for applicant 3. And I guess we're gonna need some help in drawing up the contract or changing the contract that we had just a little bit.
Okay. If one of you has those details, if we could sit down and go over that, that would probably be the best way to get that contract put together.
Okay. I guess basically it was just, the main one was so the pay would reflect the wage study that we had done in 2022. Including, along with that, the 3 weeks of vacation would coincide with that study. And just the changing of the final day of the date of the contract to end on end of a fiscal year
26.
on 26.
So June 30 of 26, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 years, 8 months or whatever that turns out to be.
I have a few of those details, Andy, I can send that. The salary part was the paragraph 6, and it references the compensation plan from 2015, so they want to update that to the one done in 2022, but also give him credit for the 6 years of experience. So at the time of starting as if he had 6 years of experience on the 2022 compensation plan.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben, if you want to shoot me an email with that, I'll try and start roughing it up. Maybe between the two of us, we can get it in close enough to get it to the board for review.
Sounds good.
Sounds real good. Do you have anything else for us, Andy?
I do not. How about on your end?
No, I got.
I think we want to see the, rewrite of that contract sooner rather than later, because we're calling references today too. So we can move this process quickly.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I think that's it, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Got the minutes, the claims, and the VA monthly report.
We've got a little time if everybody wants to go over the claims. I mean, wait for a second. We got nearly 10 minutes, so.
That's the VA. Well, see that. Last time, I wait till we make motion.
Who's whistling that?
I don't know if it's pretty good.
Funny.
It's gonna be late. He just was
Okay.
in contractual now, so it's about 20 minutes. And Jeff is in a meeting, so he's not available.
I forgot to give an update on the opioid settlement task force meeting we had last Thursday. It went really well. There's no deadline for spending that money. Our next piece of that task force, we're gonna meet quarterly. So once every 3 months we'll meet. We're working with some other counties to see what the possibilities are to hold a miniature conference up here for the 6-county region. And see where the best places are to spend the task force settlement money. Everybody around the table agreed that Narcan is so widely available at no cost, so we don't need to be spending some of that money on Narcan. That's already available and it's widely available. So we'll be updating you probably in another 3 months to see where those conversations have gone and where we think some of that money would be best spent. But that's what we're arguing on Thursday.
Were there any ideas?
Education, K-12 education increased. More help for overdose victims once they've had an overdose, the follow-up and the educational process for the victims, but also educational process for adults. Like, as I said before, the biggest obstacle for treatment, care, not using is stigma. And the society still has such a huge stigma when you start talking about overdoses and opioid use. That's the biggest hurdle for any society is to get through the stigma, because you'll hear people actually say things like, well, they're just addicts, who cares? Well, it's still somebody's baby, it's still somebody's son or daughter, spouse, grandmother, grandfather. They're people. And we need to be a caring society and not just a criminal society, criminalizing society. So there's a lot there and it's gonna take a long time, but those were some of the things tossed around at that meeting. And the people involved in this meeting, I have the list in front of me: Sheriff's Office, Northeast Iowa Behavioral Health, Public Health, Emergency Management, family member, victim, family member, somebody who overdosed in that family. myself. Can't think who else was around the table, but all the people who are on the front lines of opioid overdose stories and situations are on that task force. They're coming from the front lines with their ideas and their concerns and their solutions for this. Winneshiek County is going to get about 289,000 overall over the 15 years. Other counties are getting 400,000 developing. That depends on your data and how many overdoses your county has had. Fayette County is getting about 400,000 over that 15 years. So, there's money coming in, and we just want to make sure that the money we use out of this, whether it be collectively or individual as counties, that it's doing the best we can to prevent overdoses, prevent use. You know, a lot of these people were prescribed oxycodone after a knee surgery or shoulder surgery and end up addicted. Watch the movie Painkiller about the Sackler family on Netflix. It's very eye-opening, or read the book about the Sackler family. But Big Pharma really pushed these drugs and caused a lot of these addictions and overdose situations. So, there's so much there, and a lot of it is educating the community so that there's not that stigma out there. So we're hoping to get a miniature conference up here for the area counties, health providers, behavioral health providers, sheriff's offices, boards of supervisors, community, just to help push that education piece of it.
This is one case where receiving less money is actually a good thing.
Yes, it means our data is a little better.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't peaked yet. It's gonna continue then.
Well, that's the hope, is that we cannot let it
Yeah,
continue.
that's why this is good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Policy board meeting and, there's like $1.36 million in TAP money that's gonna be taken away from Winneshiek County if we don't use it pretty soon in conservation. I don't know if all that money is for Winneshiek, but if we don't use it, we're gonna lose it.
Ouch.
What was that?
They'll pull the federal dollars back and give it to somebody else in the state.
What was that earmarked for?
I don't know. I'm not on the enhancement committee, so I don't know.
But that's.
It's through the conservation.
Maybe we should have Barb come in and.
Yeah, probably. If we don't use it, we're gonna lose it.
Was probably on the trail, wasn't it? Or that's.
I don't know.
We should have an update.
Because she hasn't been going to meetings, so she hasn't been showing up, so.
They had a
I think that,
conservation meeting in here, I think last Thursday. Cause Barb, I had a
Yeah.
meeting early Thursday and then she was waiting to get in.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming last Tuesday. Is it last Tuesday? Maybe it was Tuesday. Why did I-
So I don't know what the deadline date is on that money, but.
I think rather than have the discussion here, we should be checking with the department head and have her fill us in.
Get her in here,
Because here's what,
put her on the agenda.
because policy board's in charge of okaying this money. And it hasn't been spent, so if you don't spend it, you lose it. And we're.
Well,
on
don't
the verge-
forget, they're doing a
we're on
lot
the
of work,
verge of
one
losing
person
it.
down.
That has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with-
One person down. This money, this has been going on for 2 or 3 years. This money's been sitting there and ain't been used.
But it's something we definitely need to learn more about.
Do you schedule her on the agenda?
Just an update in general. Would be nice. I think like that Nestea Trail, when is that project going through? And what are they?
And it might be nice to refresh it for us because we really haven't heard anything about it lately. And maybe it's where you need financial match or something like
We might
that.
have corporate money.
And notice on the disbursements, we've got an $1,800 consulting fee. What is that? With Heron Consulting? You have any idea what that refers to?
Not without looking at it, that doesn't ring a bell.
You see the hearings on there quite a bit.
Is it, what's the fund, 2000, or is it a fund number?
I saw that. And,
So here's your fund number.
let's see. The fund is 0100000.
1,000.
The general fund I don't know what it is then without looking it up.
Just for the, we had, in our 6 county meeting, we had quite a bit of discussion about the cost of medical examiners and autopsies and transport and everything else. And just for the public's knowledge, we had to do an autopsy, and the state medical examiner charge to us to do an autopsy is $1,990. So that's just part of the expenses that we have to incur.
Yeah, that would be main expense.
Yeah, it's under, the state medical examiner.
This is the one to sign. And this one.
Yeah. That's under
Hearing every once in a while when you're on the claims.
Yeah, $1,990.39.
You get much rain in College?
What's that?
How much rain you get in College?
Well, this morning I had a quarter inch. I watched a quarter for 6.
Yeah, we had 4/10 in Spillville.
That's been about 4 or 5 times. So it gets out there by, Northern District has just full. There's a lot of water up there, so there'll be more rain in there.
Big and severe drought will take every.
Well, she
Oh,
did
2
checks at the plant, so I think so.
Oh, yes, that they're out blading today.
Yeah, it'd be just perfect. It ain't too much. I think they must be done taking their off. 45th, I haven't seen those trucks Friday. There's just a few. Must have that project. Someplace.
All that you can get off 245th.
Yeah, whatever, that nice, yeah. That's a lot of good, that's rocky around
It's gonna be the last one, Ben.
I guess I started at the wrong end of the file. Or I missed it because I went too quick. Aaron Consulting. VA. Oh, so that I'm guessing is that's the counselor, the veterans.
Oh.
Yeah, they haven't come
Yeah.
like once
Yeah.
every month or whatever it is to.
Okay.
And once every 2 weeks or whatever, meet with veterans.
Yep.
So did you have a motion, Mark, to approve the consent?
Yeah, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Was there anything else besides this?
No, minutes, claims, and the VA monthly report.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Does anything jump out at you guys on the lighting in the courthouse per days?
Look at it. I think those are pretty much covered all.
Nick's online.
Well,
No, he said he's running late.
Oh,
that one,
He was-
I would agree with you, Mark, but I don't know that the Irish were gonna win in a Nordic town.
We do Nordic Fest, so we gotta.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
I just think it'd be nice if Faith is gonna make the same request every year, just put it on here with that wording. But that's a good question.
Yeah.
See if that's something that's gonna be long-term for veterans.
I'll ask her if she knows. She maybe doesn't even know.
Right, right.
well, what do you think about running the lights for the week from Christmas to New Year's?
I'm fine with it.
yeah,
I think that's a good thing. That's a nice idea.
yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, we have the lights, it's.
Yes.
nice.
I guess if the big box stores can start Christmas decorations in October, I think we could put the lights up there for a week.
Well, 1 week, yeah. We're not gonna run from Halloween to New Year's.
Or you do it for a 2 week period, I mean, a few days before Christmas, a few after New Year's or something, I mean. Do it for a 2 week period.
I
We
guess,
usually switch it. The joke at my birthday is December 19th, so I usually get.
I don't think that's gonna-
So I always say they're switching the lights for my birthday. Yeah. That's what I tell my kids.
Just to validate that, I'll move for the 19th.
That would be like the 21st to the 4th or something, or what would that?
I think just whatever, if that week becomes each year.
Or just do it a few days, do it,
Do it a little before Christmas.
do it before Christmas.
If we know when they are, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and we set them to the school. colors, so
23rd to the 5th or something.
Red and white, I think, is south.
That would be 2 weeks. December 23rd through, or December 22nd through
well, I would just say
January 4th.
7 days before Christmas, 7 days after
They
Christmas,
used to do
Yeah.
it, then.
Yeah,
something like
Yeah,
that. That way,
yeah.
because their date is changing all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, and we aren't, I don't wanna have to come in on the weekend just to change. all
No,
that. So we're gonna do it, you usually set it the Friday before and let it run.
We're a little flexible, but just
Yeah.
basically say 7 days before or 7 days, 7 days after.
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
Just simplifies it.
So we'll probably have to draw up a new resolution.
Yeah, I'll just add that one permanently. She thinks it's gonna be a every year thing, and
Okay.
then we can, so you wanna add additional time at Christmas.
Mhm.
And if you have any others, let me know.
Do we do during the course of Nordic Fest? We do the whole, however many, 3 days of Nordic Fest?
Yeah, so I think we usually switch it, Wednesday night, the Nordic Fest is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we put it back Monday.
But the,
It is. It is.
I didn't notice.
That's what I said.
I know.
What's that all
I'm glad we have it on there.
When is Beck getting?
We don't have any license, Bill.
There was something on the news last week. I didn't listen. I thought about the Turkey River watershed. Did they get the money or they decided how they're gonna?
I don't know, I haven't.
We need water desperately. The sandbars keep getting bigger than the turkey.
With the upper islands. Way down. It's not, it was kind of like half a channel usually, but now it's just not even close to being its second. By the bridge over here. It's just rock.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been this low.
No, I don't think so either.
It's the slowest I've ever seen. Slow down at all, ever. And it's really slow.
It's just a trickle.
I'm wondering if there's any reports yet of wells drying up within the county, because we had a lot of shallow.
We had one last month.
What Doug said.
Yeah, because I get that health board, always to give us, there was one that dried up. But, yeah, I know my neighbor's just down the hill, but that's only a 60-footer.
I know someone that had to pull it, add some pipe, and drop it in.
I
They're
think I'm at,
all the way down to where there's no more.
because I only got a 140-foot well, and I'm in the highest point in the county, so.
Oops.
Yeah, it is, one, just the highest points.
We drink toxic water.
I don't know why, it went dry, well,
Right around 400 and some feet or where they're at. Guy on the River Road lived there for over 50 years and he had to put another section of pipe. It's-
We've got another El Nino year forecast. Just
yeah, we're gonna go into it, right, last year we had bush.
I just started putting in a couple of cisterns up here and start saving our rain.
I'm 321 down, so if I go dry, I think we're in
Yeah,
trouble.
we're really,
We gotta go to 450 out there.
from where you are.
Go to Decorah Avenue, I think it is. I think that's what it's called.
All right.
I'm good, we got commercial pictures, they gotta go 1,200. And then Rex has got the irrigation pit fitting down there, so that's 1,200 foot too. Well, now you got all these people going down there drawing all that water, well,
It's just rubber and everything.
I mean, you'd start pulling off the bottom of the cup. The top of the cup's gonna go dry first, I would say.
Oh, and
I'm not really sure, but
it's not supposed to.
no, it's supposed to be in them added levels. Yeah, I think Decorah Avenue is what we have to go to.
Oh,
I think that's what it is.
Two riches, like 450.
Yeah.
460.
Yeah, and Sean drilled one over on Rick Roof's farm. I think it was last year, or the year before, we went, I think it was 280. And we're down into that one aquifer.
Oh, yeah, that's
Down lower.
yeah, you're probably 100 and some feet. Way
I
lower.
think I'm in Jordan. And then there's St. Peter's that's
Yeah.
below that. And that difference between those two is almost 200 feet.
Yeah.
Where I'm at.
Well,
Mine's over 500.
Yeah.
that's, you go over Wisconsin, they take the pipe and pound it down the ground.
The ground water comes out. Maybe not this year.
I seen a guy do that in his barn. He just had a hole in the cement, pounded the pipe down, water come on, put a spigot on, it's got water in it, it's fine.
Morning, Nick.
Morning.
We'll wait till Shirley comes back out.
Okay.
It's got spring water runs out of it into a fountain. He's got trout in there. I never seen one so big, you could feed the corn every day. It was, it'd be that one, I have never. So, just, I've never seen one that big in my life. Just fed it every day, it's water and that water tank, it just runs in there and. Yeah.
The next on the agenda, Nick Rissman. You've got a few different things for us.
Yeah, so the hiring of a new employee, Garrett actually turned us down. After making that offer to him last week for the bridge crew person out of Freeport. So with that, we recommend, to offer Joe Rilling's position. And I can get you the spelling for that, Ben, you're good.
Joe Rillings.
Yeah, Rillings. Yep.
Your current employee.
No,
No, this would be a new employee to work out of the Freeport shop for the bridge.
It's not a transfer.
Correct.
someone like to take action on that?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the hire maintenance worker Joel Rillings. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Who seconded?
Mark, yeah, falls.
Next, W14 Federal Aid Agreement.
Yeah, so we have two different agreements here. And this is not for the section within the city limits of Spillville. So there's actually gonna be three different parts to the paving portion of it. There's gonna be the section that goes from Ridgeway to Spillville and then Spillville to Ford, and then a section within Spillville. But Spillville has to be, they're doing some utility work. Is that correct? So that's gonna be coordinated. It actually may not even be let together with these other two because we gotta wait for that stuff to get done. And so we don't have a federal aid agreement yet in place for that, but there is federal money in that.
And it isn't the little section in Ridgeway, by Ridgeway is a separate project too, because it's not federal aid or something.
It goes off W14 to
Cuts across.
9 there, that
Gravel section.
section, yeah.
Is there a reason we have to do that?
Yes,
There's
Why?
true.
like trail requirements.
No, is there a reason we have to do it at all? It's not part of W14.
Otherwise, we should.
It is a part of W14.
It is.
Did we change it back? I think it is.
I think it is now, like this agreement actually goes on to A46 because I think we're going to the west along A46 a little bit. I don't 100% know where the termination point is on this.
I think it's that first stop.
It's just a convenient
Correct.
cut across. It wouldn't necessarily have to be part of the project. It's 375.
To my knowledge, correct.
W14 used to go into town to that first stop sign and turn right and go through town out to Highway 9. And the talk was we need to improve that cut across road and to make, that would be farm to market money that available to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We reassigned, so W14 now is actually goes on that gravel section out to the highway. And that extended A46 then down to where, out the town to where it meets that intersection.
To the corner.
Yeah, I do recall that happening.
That's good, yeah,
Number of years ago.
6, 8 years ago, yeah. And there was some talk whether to just move it back rather than pave that section of that last little bit because of the issues with the bike trail.
Gotta be,
But I don't think we ever did any changes, but I can't remember for sure.
It was like $380,000, I think, to do
To
that.
do that extra stretch there. I'd have to get with the guys and find out what, no,
if there's one.
I mean, I don't know.
It got to be expensive because of the bike trail and ADA compliance through that section, and it was easier to do it not with the federal money.
Federal money, yeah.
So yes, I think you could leave that off, but then you may want to consider redesignating W14 to go through town again, so you actually have a hard surface.
So between these two projects, you guys are gonna be getting $2.2 million. The project from Spillville to Fort, which is, project STP-S-C096, parent 154.
I'll take copies of the front page there.
Dash 5E-96. That one is specifically for 1.76 million. And then the stretch from Ridgeway to Spillville is 440,000. Now, one thing to always keep in mind on this is either 80% of these project costs or this amount, whichever is less. So if the project comes in, double these amounts, then you only get these amounts. If the project comes in under budget, you only get 80% of what the actual cost is. And then that money will go back into the pool through our RPA.
But the matching money is being paid out of farm market.
Yeah, so it'll be let through the DOT, and then the farm market account will pay for the project and we'll get reimbursed by the feds with this amount. Or 80%, whichever spots. So then again, there is federal money into the stretch inside of Spillville. But at this point, they have not generated the federal aid agreement for that. And at some point, we'll probably have to have a conversation with all three cities. I don't know if that already happened. Probably need to work on getting 2080 agreements in place. I believe Winneshiek County in the past has always done the Center 22. Meaning that the county will pay for the pavement of the Center 22 going through town, but then the city has to pay for the remainder. I don't know if it's been Winneshiek's past practice to create a 2080 agreement or not with all the cities. But at a minimum, I think a conversation needs to be had with each one.
I know we have created agreements with them if they couldn't fund their part right away. So like if they wanted to add more lanes or curb and gutter, we would pay for it all and then they'd pay us back over a few years because they maybe didn't have all the money right away.
I've done that frequently in Howard County where we've given a 0% loan to the cities and then they just pay it back anywhere from over 3 years to 15 years. I think we've even extended some of them out. So, because they have a harder problem. I mean, we're strapped with cash trying to get these paving projects done as well, but they don't have the bonding capacity either in a lot of cases. So I would recommend a motion to authorize the chair to sign the federal aid agreements for projects STP-S-C096, parent 154 and parent 155-5E-96.
Second.
We have a motion. What was that one again?
I can't repeat it.
We have a motion and a second for the W14 federal aid agreements. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And actually, that has to sign this as well.
And I'll take copies of those for front pages, just to get the number behind.
Did want to, so that driveway bridge, that estimate did not include the cost of the rail cars that you have in the yard. So it would not be an additional cost. We already have them in place. And it was like 17,500 per rail car. We need 2 of them, so about $35,000 more than that $100,000 estimate that we put in place. I still would highly recommend, you're putting in place a bridge that's gonna be unposted. And it'll be there for quite some time. That, the other question that was brought to me though is funding. I have not, I've not jumped into the budget to find out, where it can be fit in the budget. Staff has indicated that you guys have paid for things out of different funds in the past. So we may have to have that conversation as well, as to how to pay for the outside costs on that driveway.
They did put a 1,000-gallon tank in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The LP company put another tank in there. So,
Good deal.
yeah.
How'd they get it over there?
Don't
He didn't
ask.
say. He said he drove across. Because Phil, the other one, didn't realize how. So they put another tank in. Oops, yeah.
So an additional how much?
Well, 35,000 from that estimate. So instead of $100,000 estimate, it'd be 135,000, but the 35 has already been purchased.
No, I
Yes,
know
so,
We're short 100,000 right now. We need 100,000 to do this bridge and we
Correct.
need to find that funding somewhere.
correct. And I don't know if that normally is something that goes out of the secondary road budget. Staff had just asked that question. I could dive into that a little bit more, but
In the past, we've done non-funded bridges, so local funded bridges out of the infrastructure fund sometimes, but that's already obligated for the next 2 years for the 911 towers. So there isn't any of that available.
okay.
So hopefully you can find it in the road budget.
I don't know where.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I'll dive into that a little bit more.
Which maybe kind of bridges to the next question about how,
Bridges to the next question.
well, the budget, I mean, they're planning to offer a position to a new engineer. I'm wondering how long you're willing to stay on under a similar agreement to help.
Yeah, I have no problem with doing that. I know Tama County is currently doing that as well, where they have an interim engineer and then they just hired a new engineer. However, that individual was an assistant in Fayette County. And the interim engineer is still in place to help out. It's one of them things where if you want me to help out, and all of us around here are willing to help out anybody with, if they've got a half-hour conversation with us a week, we have no problem with that. Now, if you're talking 3, 4, 5 hours a week, if you want me to start helping in with the budget, 5-year program, that's gonna take more time that I just can't give a half hour, but I'm willing to do that in the same agreement that we have going on.
That's what
On the short term here.
give them 90,
Gets-
till we give them 90 days. Up to 90 days if you wanted extra.
Do you think that 90 days is a good amount?
I guess it would all
I mean,
depend on the
we-
individual, yeah.
I mean, we can take a look at it after 90 days and if we still.
Yeah, I can
mean,
revisit it.
We can revisit it. I mean.
You'll know, you would know best.
Yeah, I think the current contract that I'm running under for the interim is through the end of January. So maybe it's something we just leave that in place and then at the end of January,
January, take a look at it.
it either extended or not.
That's 90 days. So.
But new kid on the block, would you recommend that that's good practice to make the mentoring available?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It all depends on what their experience level is,
Especially during budget time.
Yes.
When I started, I made multiple phone calls to my previous boss. I made multiple phone calls to all the people around me, but I also had staff that had been with Howard County for 20 years that had done the budget, as well. So maybe that's a little bit different here with Isaac's unfortunate passing as well, played a role in that too. So, I'm willing to continue to help out. Just keeping that contract in place and then in January we can.
Yeah, that'd work out fine. Basically what.
Yeah, and we can revisit it at the end of January and see where we're at, see where hopefully our new employee engineer is at that point in time, feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Anything else for us, Nick?
That new single axle dump truck did not show up last week, but we should get it this week. We are done ditch cleaning on 245th, and they're now gonna be starting on 225th. And probably there for a week or two. I believe that's what's going towards, W14, the ditch clean material from these two roads. And then lastly, the, machine 152, which is the blade that we sent to Brown's Heavy Equipment, down in Ames, should be back in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that.
Was that 111? Was that the one that we did the hydraulic pump in, the transmission in, and now the engine in?
At the
No, the engine isn't, the
It was
engine
just
is quite deep, but yeah.
The hydraulic pump had been done
Prior.
prior.
prior to the situation a couple different
And
times.
that particular, like the John Deere, we've had that kind of persistent problem with, is that kind of characteristic, or would you just get around it?
I don't know how many hours are on that. It'd be hard for me to really say, because I don't know the age and the hours. I mean, in Howard County's experience, I haven't had a John Deere. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since we traded in our last John Deere, but the last time we bought a new one was 05. And then, like I said, I think we didn't trade that in until a couple of years ago. Our experience was John Deere's would last us in that 7,000 to 8,000, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 hour range before we'd have to overhaul a tranny and engine. Where cats for us were around 10 to 12,000 hours. I think Winneshiek County was having better success than what we were having, but I don't have that data in front of me.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, some of that's maybe a little bit of maintenance. Cause on that particular one, the air conditioning didn't work. It was brought to John Deere. And the only thing that was wrong with it was the dirty filters. They were never cleaned out. They had to blow the whole casing out.
One thing,
$35 worth of filters, we had $435 bill. But
one thing I would heavily recommend to you guys is get all your machines in heated bays. I've gone through that over in Howard where we have refurbished or built brand new shops in every location that we've had in the last, probably since 2016. I've overhauled every shop that we've got except for my Cresco shop, where I took areas that were constructed for cold storage only and had their truss spacing at, I think it was 8 feet. We had to get them truss spacings down to 4 feet to actually hang a ceiling in there, put insulation in there, spray foam the walls, heat those shops. Again, I'm not a mechanic, but a lot of the guys will tell you that the cold starting them is hard on them.
We've heard that all the time. from-
If you can find room to that budget, I realize that we don't have a money.
They've been working on that. So you added the heat up at Kendallville and you're building a new shop at Locust. And I mean, you're kind of working through it. I don't know how many, if they're all now in heat, I think maybe.
No, Bridgeway is,
Bridgeway isn't.
they got a couple trucks maybe, but the rest of the.
The previous engineer's goal.
Yeah.
Couldn't do them all at once. So we were kind of picking them off as we could afford it.
Yeah, it's just a lot easier when she's, even if you keep it at 45 degrees, just anything to.
You use in Howard County, do you use some kind of like an operator maintenance checklist of things that they're supposed to be checking and that they do check them? Because when we have a $400 bill for an air conditioning filter, I mean, that's kind of, that shouldn't happen. I can't imagine that.
We have a checklist for all commercial vehicles, that you're supposed to do a walk around before you drive any commercial vehicle. I don't know that, an air conditioning filter is on that checklist.
Because they check fluid levels, things of that nature as a routine, as an operator.
They're supposed to, but I have had issues with that as well.
That's where this John Deere, 16 gallons low on hydraulic, that's why the pump. Yeah, 16 gallons? Yeah.
Gallons, that's more than.
Yeah, the leaky fitting, didn't think was leaking that much. I never checked it.
Then what's the cost of, what was that,
I don't know.
5 figures?
Well, it ain't cheap hydraulic, anything hydraulic, it's the damn oil.
Yeah, it would itself. What, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anything else for Nick?
Lastly, on that Jeffrey Peel, I do have actually a meeting, with his attorney this morning, late morning, to go over stuff, making sure everybody's on the same page. Spoke with him, and like I said, he's coming in late this morning into the office, and, I know staff met with Mary last week, so they're gonna be at the meeting and go through things, and, I mentioned it to Andy, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it up or not, so.
I hope it goes well.
That pond or whatever it is in there, is that?
As long as the NRCS has access to that pond to be able to maintain it, then we're okay. But one option is to just not vacate that stretch from Locust out to the pond and just leave that as a dead end level C road. That's certainly an option as well. But we need to talk to Mary about that and verify some things. And I know Mary's got a shed out that, out towards that pond on the other side of the road as well. So.
And she still needs to be able to have access to her.
Correct.
And that part of the road isn't the part he's
Correct.
changed, so that could stay county road.
Yep.
All right.
Other than that, everything else.
So we may not be vacating that, we may just leave it as a class C.
Just that, what I might recommend is just that.
From Locust into the,
Into the pond, but then from the pond northeast is to vacate potentially, yeah.
with easements for all other landowners. Are you gonna be in the office for a while,
At least, yeah, until,
till your meeting?
for sure until that meeting, but potentially a little bit longer. I imagine it'll be over here till 1 o'clock or so.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
All right.
Thanks for reading that. Get rain an hour from now, you get that rain, you go over there.
Yeah, we had about 3 tenths in Cresco, and I think one of our guys said they had about half into a Graceville, so, yeah. One over there.
Widespread rain.
Thanks much.
Radar signature going on.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hopefully next week we'll have.
Thanks for everything.
I did.
And I seconded.
12 o'clock.
Oh, what's
It was
that?
kind of a hurry.
There's, I have to go back here and look where it's at.
I'll be here for about 20 minutes today for office hours if anybody wanted to stay.